First time I tasted somebody's spit, I had a coughing fit.
In a world where fame often demands conformity, one artist dared to become her own universe. Before she was a global icon, she was just Janelle from Kansas City, a dreamer who saw rhythm where others saw routine, and rebellion where others saw rules. Her voice wasn't just heard, it challenged. Her image wasn't just admired, it redefined beauty, gender, and freedom. But behind the tuxedos, the silver suits, and the electric smile, there was a woman fighting to exist on her own terms. A storyteller, a fighter, a rebel who turned pain into poetry and silence into symphony. From humble beginnings to the Oscars' red carpet, from alien androids to unapologetic activism, Janelle Monáe's journey isn't just about music or fame. It's about liberation. So how did a girl from a working-class home become one of Hollywood's most fearless voices? And what did it cost her to stay free? Music swells. Title appears, Janelle Monáe, the rebel who reprogrammed Hollywood. Before the spotlight, before the red carpets and Grammys, there was a girl who dreamed in color. Janelle Monáe Robinson was born in 1985 in Kansas City, Kansas, the daughter of a janitor and a cafeteria worker. Her family didn't have luxury, but they had rhythm. And in that rhythm, she found hope. She grew up in a working-class neighborhood where imagination was the only escape from limitation. While others dreamed of fame, Janelle dreamed of freedom, to think, to dress, to love without permission. At church, she sang gospel until the walls trembled. At home, she wrote plays and stories about androids who wanted to be human, never knowing she was writing her own prophecy. Her father struggled with addiction. Her mother worked endless shifts. Yet Monáe never saw hardship as defeat. She saw it as material for transformation. Every setback became a verse. Every silence became a note. By the time she left Kansas for New York to study theater, she carried more than ambition. She carried the fire of a girl who refused to be ordinary. Camera pans upward. The Kansas skyline dissolves into city lights. Music rises with hopeful energy. New York gave her dreams, but Atlanta gave her wings. When Janelle Monáe moved south, she didn't have fame. Just a suitcase, a notebook full of songs, and a fire that couldn't be silenced. She worked odd jobs by day, wrote lyrics by night, and sang in every corner that would let her be heard. But it wasn't glamour. It was grit. Rejection came often. Money ran out quickly. Yet every no only sharpened her purpose. In Atlanta, she met Big Boy from Outkast, a meeting that would change her life forever. He saw what the world didn't yet understand. A young woman who didn't just want to make music. She wanted to create a world. Her sound was electric soul, futuristic funk, part James Brown, part science fiction. Soon, her first EP, Metropolis, Sweet One, The Chase, was born, a concept album about an android hunted for love. But beneath the story of machines and freedom was something deeper. Janelle herself, running from conformity. The critics didn't just listen. They felt her, and for the first time, Janelle Monáe was no longer invisible. Montage, her first shows, small clubs, black and white suits, eyes shining under bright stage lights. Music intensifies. Narrator, the girl from Kansas had arrived, and she didn't come quietly. The world wasn't ready, but she was. When Janelle Monáe released the ArchAndroid in 2010, she didn't just drop an album. She unleashed a universe. It was bold, cinematic, and unapologetically different, blending funk, soul, orchestral strings, and science fiction into something the industry had never seen. She wasn't chasing trends. She was rewriting them. Critics called her the future of music. Prince called her his protégé. And for the first time, the world began to understand the mind behind the tuxedo. Her stage performances were explosions of precision, a mix of James Brown energy and Afro-futurist storytelling. Each note was rebellion, each lyric a manifesto. Then came Dirty Computer, a love letter to identity, queerness, and freedom. It wasn't just an album, it was a declaration. Nominated for Album of the Year at the Grammys, it cemented her as an artist who didn't fit the mold, because she melted it. And while music made her a legend, Hollywood made her immortal. In Hidden Figures, she played Mary Jackson, a real-life NASA pioneer who broke barriers with brilliance. In Moonlight, she brought quiet compassion to a film that redefined masculinity. Both films were nominated for Oscars. Both shattered ceilings. And through it all, Janelle stood not just as an actress, but as a symbol of resilience, representation, and power. Cut to flashing cameras on the red carpet, her calm smile beneath the storm of lights. Narrator. At her peak, she was no longer just Janelle Monáe, the artist. She was a revolution in motion. Proof that you don't have to belong to the system to change it. Music fades into deep bass and heartbeat rhythm, foreshadowing the coming turmoil. Every revolution comes with resistance. And for Janelle Monáe, fame was both a crown and a cage. As her influence grew, so did the expectations. The industry wanted her to fit somewhere, to choose a box, a label, a category. But she never belonged to one. Reporters kept asking the same question. Who is Janelle Monáe, really? And she answered, not with words, but with truth. In 2018, she came out publicly as pansexual, later embracing her identity as non-binary. It was a moment that shook Hollywood. Not because it was scandalous, but because it was revolutionary. Some called it brave, others called it risky. But for Janelle, it was simply honest. The same media that once praised her for originality now dissected her for difference. Her bold style, tuxedos, androgynous fashion, raw sensuality, was celebrated by some, misunderstood by many. Behind the scenes, she struggled with pressure, loneliness, and the quiet weight of representing millions who felt unseen. The higher she rose, the louder the noise became. Yet even at her most vulnerable, she refused to crumble. In interviews, she spoke not with anger but with clarity. I'm not here to be safe. I'm here to be seen, for all that I am. Black screen, her voice echoes through silence. Being different isn't a weakness, it's power. The world tried to turn her into a headline. Instead, she turned herself into a movement. The heartbeat returns. Steady, louder, alive. The frame brightens into sunlight. Narrator. Through the noise, she found her voice again. And this time, she was singing for every soul that ever felt like they didn't belong. After years of armor, Janelle Monáe finally chose to step into the sun. Not as a symbol, not as a fighter, but as herself. Her rebirth came with The Age of Pleasure, an album that celebrated freedom in its purest form. Gone were the suits, the walls, the codes of silence. Now she appeared unfiltered, fluid, sensual, and radiant. A woman unafraid to take up space, to love, to laugh, to live. Where once she sang about androids breaking chains, she now was the revolution, flesh and soul, unprogrammed, unapologetic. The music was warm, lush, and tropical, a sonic invitation to joy. But beneath it, there was power, the kind that comes when a person no longer needs permission to exist. Critics called it her most daring era. Fans called it her most honest. She called it pleasure, without guilt. From global fashion runways to pride stages, from Grammy nights to quiet oceanside mornings, Janelle Monáe transformed from performer to prophet of liberation. Montage, she laughs, dances with fans, raises her hands to the sky. The frame bursts with sunlight. Narrator. This was no reinvention. It was resurrection. The moment Janelle stopped surviving and started truly living. Some artists chase fame. Janelle Monáe chased truth. Her legacy isn't measured in awards or sales. It lives in the hearts she set free. In a world that demanded silence, she sang louder. In an industry built on imitation, she built her own identity. She showed the world that art can be armor, that love can be rebellion, and that self-expression, in all its forms, is the truest revolution. From the futuristic android to the liberated human, Her journey became a mirror for a generation learning to embrace complexity, color, and chaos. Critics called her a visionary. Fans called her a voice. But history will remember her as something greater, a force that redefined what it means to be alive, seen, and free. Soft cinematic crescendo. Her laughter echoes under sunlight. Narrator. Janelle Monáe's journey reminds us that freedom isn't found. It's created, note by note, breath by breath, soul by soul. Music fades into silence. Title appears, Janelle Monáe, the rebel who reprogrammed Hollywood, CTA. If her story inspired you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because the world needs more stories of those who dared to be different.